You know, in the world of Indian politics, things can change fast. And we just saw one of the biggest, most dramatic shifts in years happen in the upper house of parliament. And it all boils down to a single, simple number. 7. That's the number at the absolute heart of this story. 7 members of parliament from the Aam Aadmi Party, or AAP, just set off a political earthquake. And in doing so, they've kicked off what's shaping up to be a massive constitutional showdown.
And just take a look at the immediate aftermath. This chart shows you just how drastic the shift was. I mean, literally overnight, the Aam Aadmi Party's presence in the Rajya Sabha just plummeted, going from 10 seats all the way down to 3. At the same time, the ruling BJP picks up those 7 seats, boosting their whole NDA alliance to 148. This isn't a small tweak. This completely rewrites the math in the upper house.
So, the big question is, how on earth does something like this even happen? Let's dig into this major power shift and figure out what it actually means for the country's political future.
And just like that, it was official. On April 27th, the chairman of the Rajya Sabha gave it his stamp of approval. He formally recognized the merger of these 7 MPs into the BJP. So this wasn't just some political gossip. It was a done deal, officially in the parliamentary records.
But who are these 7 people really? And what could possibly drive them to make such a seismic move? It's time to get behind the numbers and look at the actual players involved here.
And when you look at the names, it really hits you. This list includes some of AAP's most visible, most prominent faces. We're talking about people like Raghav Chadha and Sandeep Pathak. This makes it crystal clear. This was not some minor rebellion. This was a major coordinated move from a huge chunk of the party's parliamentary wing.
So, why'd they do it? Well, in a public statement, Raghav Chadha did not hold back. He talked about a toxic environment and claimed the party he once knew was now in the hands of corrupt and compromised people. He basically framed it as an escape, saying he felt like the right man in the wrong party. Pretty explosive stuff. But here's the thing. A statement like that, a move like this, it's not just political drama. It's a carefully calculated legal gambit. You see, these 7 MPs believe they have the law on their side, all thanks to a very specific and, let's be honest, highly controversial part of the Indian Constitution.
Okay, so to really get what's going on, you first have to know about the anti-defection law. It was basically created to stop politicians from party hopping whenever it suited them, which, as you can imagine, creates a lot of instability. The basic idea is supposed to be simple. You ditch your party, you lose your seat. But it's not quite that simple.
And this right here is the loophole. This is the whole ballgame. Paragraph 4 of the law says that if 2/3 of a party's legislators decide to merge with another party, it doesn't count as a defection. They're protected. And guess what? 7 MPs is 70% of AAP's 10 members in the House. The numbers work out perfectly. This is their entire legal argument for how they can call this a merger.
Which brings us to the core of this whole mess. Is this a legitimate merger, totally allowed by the rules? Or is it, as the Aam Aadmi Party is calling it, a constitutional fraud? This is where the debate gets fierce, and it's all about the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law.
So let's just ask the question straight up. Is what these 7 MPs did actually legal? Does it hold up under the Constitution?
And this table breaks down the 2 sides of the fight perfectly. The defectors are arguing that because they make up 2/3 of the legislature party, that is, the elected MPs in the House, they have every right to decide to merge. But AIP is firing back saying, whoa, not so fast. A real merger has to be initiated by the original political party as a whole, not just by a handful of its MPs. It's like asking, can the branch decide to break off from the tree all by itself?
And you know what's fascinating? The Supreme Court has already touched on something very, very similar to this. In a 2023 case, the court said you can't just separate the legislators from the party that got them elected in the first place. They used this incredible phrase, a figurative umbilical cord connecting the two. Now, that kind of language seems to lean pretty heavily in favor of AAP's argument, doesn't it?
So, with the legal arguments clashing and the lawyers gearing up, what does this all mean on the ground? What's the real-world political and legal fallout from this incredible move?
Politically, the impact is immediate, and it is huge. Just look at the numbers. The ruling NDA alliance now sits at 148 seats. The magic number for a simple majority is 123. They're not just scraping by, they are comfortably in control. This completely changes the game in the upper house, a chamber where the government's agenda has often been slowed down or blocked.
But the ripples from this just keep spreading. Sure, the government now has an easier path to pass its laws. But think bigger. AAP has to be worried about a domino effect now, maybe in state assemblies like Punjab and Delhi.
Of course, they vowed to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court. But the outcome of that case? Wow. It will set a massive precedent for how this law gets used, or abused, by all parties heading into future elections.
And that brings us right back to the ultimate question. When 2/3 of a party's lawmakers jump ship, is it a legitimate political merger, or is it just the clever exploitation of a legal loophole? The fate of these 7 MPs, the balance of power in Parliament, and maybe the very soul of India's anti-defection law, it all now rests in the hands of the Supreme Court.